Hello, Russian learners! I am your tutor Anastasia, and in today's lesson we are going to talk about two conjunctions «потому что» and «так как». Do they both mean because? Are they completely interchangeable or not? Can you use both when talking to your girlfriend? Answers to all these questions in this episode, here, today, as well as compliments, songs, and a bit of advertising. Let's achieve it! Whereas both conjunctions «потому что» and «так как» mean because, there are two major differences between them. The first difference is the difference in the position in the sentence. And the second difference is the difference in register or style. First, let's look at the second difference, the difference in register. And let's look at these two examples. Я опоздал на работу, потому что на дороге была авария, и я долго стоял в пробке. So in this sentence we used потому что. We can do the same, but using так как. Let me read it again, and then I'll explain what the difference is. Я опоздал на работу, так как на дороге была авария, и я долго стоял в пробке. So, the difference is in style. The second sentence, where we use так как, can be used in an excuse note. When you arrive to work and you arrive late and you write an excuse note for your boss. So, так как is more of a formal word, whereas потому что, this sentence you can say it to your co-workers, to your friends, just explaining why you were late. Так как, this conjunction has a kind of a formal character, and потому что is more informal and used more often. Please mind that we always put a comma before both conjunctions. In English, you don't put a comma before because, but in Russian, we always put a comma here. Now, a few words on pronunciation. Потому что, here we have unstressed O's. So the stress falls on U here, потому что. So when we say it quickly, we reduce these O's. So we don't say потому что. We say потому что, потому что. If you are a beginner, you can say it like this. Потому что. So make more emphasis on что to set your articulation, to practice pronouncing the Russian sounds, and for your friends, native speakers, to understand you better. So again, normally, Russian-speaking people will say потому что, but you can say потому что, and it will be okay. So this was the difference in register, more formal, more informal. Now, the position in the sentence. The word потому что, well actually it's two words, the conjunction потому что connects two parts of the sentence. That is why it's called a conjunction. The first part is the consequence or the result, and the second part is the reason. So we use both of them to show the reason of something. And потому что can only be used after the consequence, before the reason. So we cannot flip these parts around. Not like in English. In English, you can start your sentence with because. For example, because it was raining, I was late to work. Something like that. But in Russian, потому что only comes in the middle of the sentence. However, with так как, we can flip these parts around. And let me show you what we will get. Так как на дороге была авария, и я долго стоял в пробке, я опоздал на работу. So here we switched the reason and the consequence. And we can use it with ТАК КАК. We can place the conjunction ТАК КАК at the beginning of the sentence. It's okay, but we cannot do it with потому что. So that's the difference. In pronunciation, you will place more emphasis on ТАК here. So ТАК КАК. This word КАК is not really accented. So again, ТАК КАК. It sounds just like one word, basically. Very good. Now let's look at some phrases with потому что, some informal phrases that you can use with your girlfriend. Since потому что is a conjunction that is used to give reasons, you can use it to apologize to your girlfriend or to make excuses. So the first phrase, you can say it if you didn't call her when you promised. So let's read it. Я не позвонил вчера, потому что было уже поздно, и я не хотел тебя будить. I think it's a good excuse. So here, as you can see, потому что connects two parts of the sentence. The result, I didn't call yesterday, я не позвонил вчера, and the reason, because it was already late and I didn't want to wake you up. Потому что было уже поздно, и я не хотел тебя будить. So a few remarks on the pronunciation. The word вчера. You will say it with an F at the beginning, kind of like this. Вчера. Вчера. So this way it's easier to articulate it, it's easier to pronounce it. And the word поздно, late. The D sound is not really pronounced, so we say поздно, поздно. Alright? Next one. The second phrase can be used as a sweet, playful way to apologize to her for your minor faults. Like, for example, she asked you to wash the dishes and you promised her to do it, but you didn't do it because of some reason, because you were busy or something like that. So now she's asking you, почему, why, почему ты не помыл посуду? So why haven't you washed the dishes? Почему ты не помыл посуду? And instead of giving her a real reason, instead of saying, for example, потому что я был занят, because I was busy, you say, or to be more exact, you sing this line to her. Because this is a line from a song, and I will show you how you sing it a bit later. But first let's read it and analyze. Потому что нельзя быть на свете красивой такой. The literal translation is because you should not be allowed to be so beautiful in this world. This line is from a very popular romantic song that was popular in the 1990s. And 100% she knows it. It's a very popular song. So when you sing this line to her, she will immediately forget about what she asked before or why she was angry at you, because it's a very nice compliment to her. So you are basically telling her she's the most beautiful woman in the world. And you are doing it in a very nice, unexpected, surprising way, which makes it even greater. Here you can see that потому что is at the beginning of the sentence. Let's talk a little bit more about it. This is the full line. This is the full line from the song. This is just an excerpt from this sentence. Let's read the whole line. Твои волосы, руки и плечи, твои преступления. Потому что нельзя быть на свете красивой такой. So in this sentence, потому что stands where it should be, right? It's in the middle of the sentence, connecting the result and the reason. So what is the result? The character of the song tells his beloved woman that she's actually committing a crime being so beautiful, because you should not be allowed to be so beautiful. He is saying it because he feels that she passed a spell on him. So he is very dependent on her. He thinks about her all the time, and because she's so beautiful, he loves her so much. She can't do anything else. He can't do anything else. He can't think about anything else. And he doesn't really like it because who likes to be dependent on someone else? That is why he says these words. But again, this is a very, very nice compliment for a woman. And again, it's a very popular song, so it makes it even nicer. So here we have «потому что» as a conjunction in the middle of the sentence, as usual. And here we have it at the beginning of the sentence, because here it doesn't connect two parts. It just gives the reason. The result is already here. The result is that you didn't wash the dishes. Just like in English, right? You ask why, you answer because, something and something. Почему? Потому что. One more remark about this sentence. So the word beautiful here, or so beautiful. Probably from our previous videos, you know that the feminine form of beautiful is красивая. Красивая. Right? So this is the female form of beautiful. However, in this sentence, we use a so-called instrumental case because it follows the verb to be, быть. If you are wondering what the instrumental case is, I recommend you to book some lessons at our Russian online language school, Arus Pro, and our patient tutors will explain it in detail, will practice it with you, will correct your mistakes, and will answer any questions you have about it. Or you can simply wait until I make a video on Russian cases, but of course in a video format you can't really ask so many questions, right? So if you want a faster result, if you want it here and now, book some lessons and you will not regret it. Okay, now I'm ready to show you how to sing this line. Let's listen.
Твои волосы, руки и плечи, твои преступления, потому что нельзя быть на свете красивой такой. Потому что нельзя, потому что нельзя, потому что нельзя быть на свете красивой такой. Потому что нельзя, потому что нельзя, потому что нельзя быть на свете красивой такой. Эти желтые листья.
The next phrase is an even cooler way to let her know you love her. Again, it's a line from a song, a very popular song, and that is why it would be even better if you sing it, not just say it. And I will show you how to do it in a few moments. But before, let's look at the phrase and at the title of the song. The song is called Зайка моя. Зайка is an affectionate word and it means bunny. So, the name of the song is My Bunny or My Little Bunny. Actually, bunny can be translated as two words into Russian, зайка and зайчик, and both can be used as affectionate words for a woman. The only difference is that by their forms, they are different. They are different in gender. Зайка is feminine and зайчик is masculine. But again, as I said, they can be both used when you are talking to a woman. But how their gender influences other words? Let's see. Зайка моя. This is the word for my, and this is its feminine form. So for зайка, you will use моя. You will say зайка моя or моя зайка. In Russian, sometimes we are able to change the word order here. And for зайчик, or the masculine word, you will use the word мой. Again, it's also my bunny, but the word for my now is now masculine. Мой зайчик or зайчик мой. Now, bunny in English can also be used in such a combination as honey bunny. Yes, you can combine these two affectionate words into one. In Russian, the word honey in its affectionate meaning can be translated differently. It can be дорогая, милая, малышка, and so on. So we have a lot of affectionate words that can be translated as honey. But we do not normally use them in a combination with зайка or зайчик. So in Russian you cannot really say honey bunny, but you can say honey multiple ways and you can say bunny 2 ways. We will speak about the word honey in a separate video, and now you only need to know that the song we are going to listen to is called Зайка моя, my bunny. And let's read the line from the song. Я ночами плохо сплю, потому что я тебя люблю. Потому что я давно тебя люблю. So here we can see our conjunction потому что twice. Again, it connects the result and the reason. The result is that the character of the story cannot sleep at night because he loves her. I love you because I love you. I can't sleep because I love you. The result and the reason. And another reason, it's the same reason actually, but he repeats it twice. I love you for a long time. Давно. So here we use repetition to show that it's a really long time. Very good. And let's listen to it.
С тобой вместе, зайка моя. Я ночами плохо сплю, потому что я тебя люблю. Потому что я давно тебя люблю. Я ночами плохо сплю, потому что я тебя люблю. Потому что я давно тебя люблю.
Now we are moving to the examples with the more formal version of because, ТАК КАК. So here we have 2 sentences that can be seen in a newspaper or can be heard on the news. Let's read them. Так как коронавирус очень заразный, он быстро распространился по миру. So in this sentence, так как is at the beginning. This is the way we know it can be. So this is where it can be in a sentence, whereas потому что cannot stand at the beginning of the sentence. So in this phrase, in this sentence, так как can be translated as or since, which are also more formal than because in English, right? So так как is used in a formal context, in a news kind of context. Let's read the next phrase and we'll analyze both of them. Евровидение 2020 и некоторые другие культурные и спортивные события были отменены, так как в начале года по миру распространился коронавирус. A long sentence, but it's a very interesting sentence. Let's look at some words here. So first of all, coronavirus. So this word, as you can see, consists of 2 words actually. Corona, which means a crown, and virus. So, maybe you remember the rule of an unstressed O. So this O is definitely unstressed, but since it's kind of two words within one word, we pronounce them separately. So we pronounce these two roots, these two stems separately. Coronavirus. Actually, some Russian speakers, I've heard them say coronavirus. So they make just one emphasis here, coronavirus. But the presenters on the news still say it like two words, coronavirus. And I think it's easier to say. So if you ever say this word in Russian, say it like this, coronavirus. Next word here is, let's look at these two, очень and быстро. So these two words are adverbs, and we will be speaking about them in a separate lesson where we'll be contrasting adverbs and adjectives. So don't miss this lesson, it will be coming very soon. So очень is a very useful word. We can put it before any other word and it will reinforce its meaning, just like the word very does in the English language, right? So очень is very, быстро is quickly. Быстро is an adverb, быстрый, if we change the ending, if we do it like this, быстрый, this will be an adjective, quick, быстрый, quick, быстро, quickly. So again, please watch another lesson on adjectives and adverbs to understand the difference. Next word, a very interesting word here, is the verb. The verb for to spread. Actually, it's past form. It's a very long word in Russian. Let me pronounce it again. Распространился. It's a masculine past form of this verb. Why is it masculine? Because it refers to coronavirus. Virus is a masculine word in Russian, so the verb will take a masculine form. Now, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 syllables, and the emphasis falls on the fourth one, on the fourth syllable. So these three are unstressed. We have two R's here and one O, which also sounds like a weak A because it's not stressed, it's an unstressed O. So, распространился. Practice pronouncing this word. If you are having difficulty, try to say распространился. So try to articulate it as it's written. This way you will practice your sounds, your articulation, your R's, right? If you are still having difficulty with pronouncing the trilled R, watch my video on phonetics on the alphabet, and there I will give you tips how to pronounce the trilled R. What else do we have here? We have the number 2020. So in English, you say the numbers, if they are years, you say them by 2, right? In Russian, normally we say 2020, like this. 2020. So D is not really pronounced here, so we say 20. So normally we say it like this, 2020, or if it's, for example, 2010, 2010. But starting from this year, starting from 2020, in Russian there is a tendency to do it like the English speakers do. So some Russian speakers already start saying it like 2020 by 2 numbers. So we can pronounce the name of the contest Евровидение 2020 or Евровидение 2020. Honestly, I prefer the old way because it's just closer to me. But as I said, some people start to do it like this, 20-20. So these were very formal phrases using ТАК КАК. Now let's see if we can use ТАК КАК in a more informal conversation. Do we have such an opportunity? Let's look at the example. Sometimes in an informal conversation, you still want to put the reason first. You still want to put the reason before the consequence. So, you can do it with ТАК КАК. Let's look at the first example. Let's read it first and then analyze. Так как я мужчина. Remember that here we say it with a sh sound. Мужчина. Так как я мужчина, давай, наверное, я займусь шашлыками, а ты пока накрой на стол. So let's look at the translation. Since I'm the man, maybe I get started on the shashlik, and meanwhile you will lay the table. I know it's not the correct English, but I tried to translate it literally. So, what does it mean and when can you use this phrase? Shashlik is something like shish kebab or just kebab or barbecue, but it is done in a different way. It is cooked in a different way. You take a thing that you put like an outdoor thing for cooking barbecue, and you put coal in it, and you take something that we call in Russian shampur. I think in English it's a skewer, so it's a long metal stick where you put the meat and you cook it on the fire, basically. And typically, who does this job? Typically, men do it because it's fire, it's a bit dangerous. So women in Russia do not really take part in cooking shashlik. So, by saying this phrase, you can show her that you are a man, you are strong, and you want to liberate her from hard work. And I think it will be appreciated, of course. So, use this phrase if you need to. And the next example is just a general fact, because так как is also used when you talk about something that happens in general or something that is true. Yeah, look, let's look at this example here. В России много часовых поясов, так как это очень протяженная по площади страна. So, this is a general fact, general information. Так как is a conjunction that connects the consequence and the reason. Since Russia is a very big country, there are many time zones. By the way, in Russian, we literally say like time belts, because пояс in Russian means a belt, something you wear. Time zone in Russian, literally time belt. So, this is not it about ТАК КАК and ПОТОМУ ЧТО. I will see you in a few seconds and I will tell you a little bit more about them. This is almost it. I only want to add 2 more things. Number 1, if you ask a question and in this question you propose a reason, you will only use потому что. You will not use так как. For example, ты не идешь на праздник, потому что не хочешь их видеть. You are not going to the celebration because you don't want to see them. Number 2, in English, you sometimes contract the word because to cause. In Russian, we don't do that with потому что. However, we may do it with other words. For example, здравствуйте may sound as здрасте. But this is a topic for another lesson. I hope you have enjoyed this one. Give me a thumbs up if you have. And write your comments or questions below. And I'll see you in the next video. Пока-пока!